Today we make an award-winning cocktail from 1962, the Golden Amber. Today's cocktail was the first to take home an award from the newly formed California Bartenders Guild, winning the 1962 competition, which would be the first annual event. You may have caught my last video, which was the 1960 award winner, and are wondering what happened to 1961. Well, I couldn't find it. Only cocktail missing from the decade so far, and I'm not sure if it was simply just not covered in print, or if it has something to do with the fact the formation of the California Bartenders Guild in 1961, where they were phasing out the United Kingdom Bartenders Guild competition. I'm not sure. But it was on May 28th, 1962 at the Ambassador Hotel, where the first California Bartenders Guild competition took place, the final judging occurring in the one and only Coconut Grove, with over 620 people attending for dinner. There were 56 bartenders competing from California and from Nevada, and the winning cocktail was the Golden Amber by LeRoy Charon, bar manager at the Marineland restaurant. Not only did he win a trip to Europe to compete in an international competition, but he took home a 4-foot-tall trophy and $1,000 in cash. Now, at that time, if you adjust that to inflation today, that's about $10,000, so some serious coin for LeRoy. While this was the first annual competition for the California Bartenders Guild, Charon was not new to competition. In 1959, he won the United Kingdom Bartenders Guild competition with his drink called the Golden Dream, which consisted of cream, orange juice, Cointreau, and Galliano. And I happen to have one right here. This is the same competition where another well-known bartender, J. Popo Galzini, took home third place for his drink called the Queen's Choice, and the recipe for that still remains unknown. So what does the Golden Dream taste like? Let's try it. Cheers. It is not my favorite. Galliano in general, it's not my favorite. Herbal, licorice, somehow not nearly as delicious as mini absinthe. So it's not for me. Doesn't mean it's not for you. These are just flavors that I don't enjoy together, a creamy licorice thing going on. But you might like it. So if you like those flavors, maybe you should try this. So this drink called to use cream, just as the 1960 award winner Evening's Delight also called for cream. But what does cream mean? And specifically, what does that mean in 1960? This drink was obviously created in the United States, and if we look at the US law, which has changed over time, we can see that cream must be 18% milk fat at a minimum, while heavy cream needs to be 36% at a minimum. Likely they were using something closer to 20% milk fat, a light cream, often called a table cream. But I've not confirmed that in anything that I've ever seen that they were using that in cocktails of this time. But if you wanted to try to be more accurate, or at least we think, you could cut the heavy cream with some milk or some half and half and use that instead of straight heavy cream. And while we're on the subject and the holidays are approaching, a question often in many recipes like eggnog that call for an equal amount of cream and milk is, why not just use half and half? Because after all, it's half cream and half milk. But it's not. Half and half is not an exact mix or equal proportions of cream and milk. It's simply its own classification of milk with a certain percentage of fat. And in the United States, that is between 10.5% and 18% milk fat. So if you were to take a standard heavy cream and use equal parts of that with a non-fat milk, you would end up with a mixture that is 18%, which is the highest level of fat allowed for a half and half, where most half and halves fall lower. For instance, the half and half that I buy and use is 11.4% milk fat, and that's not too close to the 18% by combining heavy cream and non-fat milk in equal proportions. By using heavy cream and any other milk together in an eggnog or a cream liqueur or anything else, you can dial in and control the milk fat percentage that you're looking for. Now, having said all of that, today's cocktail contains no milk and no cream. So let's make the 1962 winner the Golden Amber. Start with half an ounce of orange juice, half an ounce of pineapple juice, half an ounce of orgeat, and 1.5 ounces of a 151 Demerara rum. serve this in a stemmed cocktail glass, and you probably would have no garnish here, but I have to take a thumbnail picture. So how about a slice of pineapple? So there you go, the Golden Amber from 1962. All right, let's try it. Cheers. The best way for me to describe this to you is it is so rich. It is rich in Demerara rum flavor. It is rich in body and viscosity. The pineapple juice with the rum, with the orgeat, and only other thing in there is orange juice. So it's not lengthened out that much. So there's a viscosity and thickness to it, which is a little bit unusual. But it is bold. It is like in your face. And if you look at this recipe on paper and compare it to the other drinks of the time, especially the award winners, you'll see like the last cocktail, which had a base, the one I just shared, a base of Galliano, and the 1960 award winner had a base of 3/4 ounces of Grand Marnier. Now we're talking about a base of 1.5 ounces of a 151 rum in a relatively small cocktail. If you do the math and extrapolate that out, that's about drinking 3 ounces of a 40% ABV spirit. So there's a depth and intensity of flavor here. I don't know about you. I don't know if any of you have ever had a 151 daiquiri. I have. They're delicious. That's a little more delicious than this, but this works. This tastes great. It's strong. The only critique I'll give it is I think it would be better served on ice to lengthen it out a little more, to just give a little bit more water. I think that would help bring everything together here. What I found the most interesting about this specific cocktail is that it's not really known. I mean, I'm sure if you do digging on the internet, you'll find something, but the recipe was distributed at the time, but it didn't take off. But the same bartender, LeRoy Charon, shared a recipe a couple years earlier that we just shared and drank that is popular. The Golden Dream is a relatively popular cocktail. I'm sure you'll find that drink on YouTube and blogs and recipe posts and all over. It's become this popular cocktail. I don't think it's that good. I think this is way better. That's just my opinion. But I think the reason that it is, the other drink is popular, is because probably in the late 60s or 70s, it showed up in Galliano booklets being promoted by the brand. That'd be my guess, where there was no 151 Demerara booklet out there to promote this cocktail. When you look at old cocktails, historic cocktails, important cocktails, modern classics, what makes something important is seemingly so random. It's not generally the merits of the way the drink tastes. Usually they taste pretty good, but it's the tastemakers that decide what is important or not, regardless of how well-known a recipe is or disseminated it is out there. Today's modern times, it's people on Instagram and people on TikTok, sometimes YouTube, but you'll see a cocktail that's existed for some time and someone shares it on Instagram, and then other people decide, hey, we're going to collectively make this thing popular, whether they realize that or not. This is an example of people decided not to make it popular. Hundreds of thousands of people were given this recipe in the 1960s. It wasn't unknown. It was in their newspaper, which they probably did not read, at least that section, and then discarded. The same is true of the Saturn cocktail. That's even more highly disseminated. You might think like this is a cocktail lost to time. How would we ever find this cocktail? More than 1 million people had that recipe delivered on their doorstep in the Los Angeles Times and a couple of other publications. So well over 1 million people had that recipe, but it wasn't remembered. It wasn't thought of as something that needed to be celebrated or put into books until like 30 years later. And I think a lot of the nowadays importance put on the Saturn is not because it's a great tasting drink. It's a very good drink. I think it's because it plugs this hole on a menu where, hey, you got a menu, you got 20 rum drinks, we need some other stuff. We need a vodka drink, we need a gin drink. Hey, this happens to be a tropical gin drink. Let's use that. So it It's unusual in nature that makes it popular today, but there was a long period of time, a good 30, 40 years, where that drink recipe was out there in the wild and no one knew or cared. It just shows that it's up to people to decide what drink becomes popular or important, and it's not always based upon merits of that drink. I'm sure there are plenty of cocktails you have had that might be award winners or classics or, recognized by the IBA or in some book that you think are trash, and most people think are trash because that's just the way it is. Some things get remembered and recognized and some things don't. This one, not really remembered. The Golden Amber, just a drink that was never lost to time because the recipe's out there. Just one not thought of in the same regard as others. And is it tiki and tropical? Well, it's definitely tropical, but LeRoy Charon worked at the Marineland bar, and one can argue that while it doesn't have tiki, it is just as much on trend with the themed nautical bars of the time. So it's not technically a tiki bar, but close enough that it makes you wonder why this drink wasn't or is not thought of as some sort of tiki classic when it won the 1962 California Bartenders Guild Award. So that's it for this one. The 1962 winner, many more to come in the coming days and weeks. If you enjoyed this video, please just give it a like below. Consider subscribing to the channel. Leave a comment if you've ever even heard of this cocktail or the other ones we've talked about so far. If you want to support this channel more, I have a Patreon page. Otherwise, I'll see you on the next one.